All right. I can't find it. All right, everybody, we're going to be starting a new lesson today. We're going to be starting our new lesson. Our new lesson is Lesson 4. Lesson 4. And the title of this lesson is A Man Can't Just Sit Around. And it has here the thought of reward number 1, a life of eternal significance. We've been going through our study, and we talked about the culture of this world and what's holding you back, and what are you looking forward to? We talked about a life quest. What is the purpose of life? We had lesson 2 was live stupid, die young. We know there's overcoming ignorance and rebellion, of course. And then we had lesson 3 was a lesson even a dog can learn. And we talked about how when we think about the world, think about the advice of God's word, but yet people don't hear to it, they don't listen to it. We talked about the different people that we'll find in the book of Proverbs. There's 4 types of people we find in the book of Proverbs. And now we are going to talk about a man can't just sit around. So some of the things we want to get out of this lesson, as we go through it, is we want to hopefully understand of a life lived for the blessings in a life lived for God, and the reward and the eternal value that it will have. And there is an end. And then some of the lesson goals are that we would live to understand the blessings of embracing. Well, most of us here are adults, but sometimes people don't act like adults, do they? So acting like an adult, or embracing adulthood. We talked. The first lesson was like, I want to be 4 again, right? Well, you're at a stage in life you're going to be 4, but you're going to grow. And we ought to grow, and we ought to desire to grow in the Lord. We want to be able to hopefully be able to comprehend that the blessings of a biblical life outweigh the burdens. To live a life that's pleasing to God, according to this world, or if you compare it to this world, there'll be some sacrifices. There'll be some hard things, but when we think about the blessings, it'll outweigh the burdens that we'll have. Now we want to be able to see that you as an individual, you matter to God, and it's not just while you're here on earth, but it's also through eternity. Let me see here. We'd like to also be able to see that life is unpredictable, right? This life, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Drive out here today, do you know what's going to happen? Are you going to make it home? Or are you going to, what's going to happen? Life is unpredictable, but you know what? But God's plan is completely reliable, and God's plan is completely valuable. And then the other thing we'll hopefully see in this lesson as we go through it is that we want to be moved to live with a purpose rather than just live, I guess, for the moment. Or to live we think about, if you're going to think about the title, Man Just Can't Sit Around, what are some other thoughts of just sitting? Something just sitting. What are some other terms we might use? Pardon me? Lazy, yeah, lazy. Could be thought of being laziness or slothfulness. Man can't just sit around. What else? What?
Idleness.
Idle. Yes, idleness. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit here too. Also, is being idle. All right. I guess the author also uses the thought of vegetate. In your vegetative state, you're not able to do anything. You just kind of, I think of a tomato. Although Bob the cucumber or Bob the tomato? Which one? Larry the cucumber? They're kind of productive, but we're not talking about that kind of vegetable. But anyway, so folks, as we go on, we're going to take a look here at some thoughts here. Let's define a few words here. Okay, now we have to define man, can. How about sit? What is it? What is to sit? What is it to sit?
In one spot, not moving.
Yeah, in an upright position. Yeah, sit in one spot in an upright position. To sit has the thought to rest in an upright position or a sitting position. And then if you're in a sitting position, unless you're maybe busy with your fingers doing something, whatever, you're usually pretty inactive, aren't you? You're sitting, you're inactive. You're not being useful, right? And we had the thought of what's holding you back. We have the thought here of living life's quest, and not life's quest according to our will, but what does God have for you in your life quest? All right, and then we have here the thought of so a man can't just sit around, can't just sit in an upright position. Can't just remain inactive or unused. Now, does the Bible back that up? What are some of the thoughts behind someone who sits around or slothful or lazy? They're really prosperous, aren't they? They gain a lot, don't they? What does God's word say happens? That's happens. And he just throws some out there. Even if you paraphrase it. I got some written down here we're going to go through in a minute. But
If you don't work, you don't eat.
oh, there you go. You don't work, you don't eat, right? What are some other thoughts?
What's about the sloth?
Yeah. What are some thoughts about the slothful man? What happens?
Yeah.
That stomach's growling, right? Yeah, it's not slothful man. His stomach's growling, right? He wants something to eat, but you know what? He ain't gonna have anything. He'll have hunger, right? And you think about it. Well, then we'll just keep going here. Okay. Let's take a look at a few more. Before we go in, we're going to look at some scriptures, idle hands and laziness is what we're going to do here. So let's look at Ecclesiastes. Let me just have a thought here. We think about holding you back. What's holding you back? Are you doing anything for the Lord? Are you doing anything to bring a good witness to the Lord? What are you doing? This is going to be spiritually. This is going to be in our physical lives. Let me see here. Ecclesiastes. It's after Proverbs. All right. Over and back. You can't go. So I got Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 5.
You want me to start?
Now we had another thought. What is idle time? There's an American proverb, and what is the American proverb about? Idle.
Work or something.
Devil's workshop. Yes, that's the one. Sister John had it. There's an American proverb, and there's a saying that goes around in the world today that has the thought of the devil, idle time, idle hands, the devil's workshop. And you think about it. When someone's idle and has nothing, we're talking about being productive. We're talking about what's holding you back. And if you're being idle, you're not really doing anything. But what are some things that can happen with idle time? What are some things that can idle time? And when you think about the devil's workshop, what might one find themselves getting into?
Trouble?
Pardon me?
Get into some trouble?
Get into some trouble. There's all kinds. What are some ways an idle person can get in trouble? Well, there's that thing. It's gossip. When you're trying to worry about meddling in other people's business and stuff. When you got idle time, you got a lot of time to kind of do things that aren't productive. We need to be busy doing our own business, serving the Lord, doing what is pleasing to Him. All right, let's take a look here at Ecclesiastes 4:5. What does Ecclesiastes 4:5 have to say?
You want me to start?
And Rose, please do.
The fool foldeth his hands together and eateth his own flesh.
All right. So, a thought. What does that mean? You fold your hands together and not doing anything.
Don't do anything.
Pardon me?
They're not doing anything.
You're not doing anything, but then when you think about your own flesh, what is the thought behind that?
Hurting yourself? or
Yeah,
destroying?
to ruin, hurting yourself. It doesn't prosper anything, and it leads to ruin, The flesh is what protects us on the outside, doesn't it? But eat your own flesh, and it just kind of, it leads to ruin, doesn't it? Let's take a look at another one. How about Ecclesiastes 10:18? Ecclesiastes 10:18. So that don't look like idleness is, or laziness is very prosperous here. I'm seeing here. Ecclesiastes 10:18.
By much thoughtfulness the building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through.
What do we got here? Through much slothfulness, the building decayeth. What is that? What is that? Does anybody notice how if you have a building that's empty or nothing happening in it, how it just seems like to fall apart? Ever notice that? You see a house that's abandoned, and just over time, it just doesn't get better by itself, does it? It just kind of starts to fall apart. You got bugs, or you got bugs. You got trees growing out of the gutters. You got all kinds of stuff going on, and has your thought of dropping through. It just think about what happens if the roof drops through, man. Think about all these hurricanes. This hurricane that just took place and took the roof off. What happens? Everything kind of leaks through and ruins it. Ruins everything. All right. Not a lot of prosperous there for being idle. How about Proverbs 12:24 and 27? Let's go to Proverbs 12. We're just going to kind of take a note here of what idleness and laziness leads to. And we think about the thought of what's holding us back and serving the Lord. We don't want to be idle. Proverbs 12:24. What do we got here? Chris or Seth or someone, I don't know who read that, but
The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute.
all right. So, as you have thought that diligent hands will rule, they'll be in charge. But if you're lazy, you're going to be kind of probably working under someone else. You're probably going to get orders and instructions from someone else. Let's see here. Then we also had verse 27, please.
The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious.
All right. So, so we think about here, even a lazy man, he won't even cook what he's got or will cook what he has, And what you see here, he'll be hungry. I was over at Jerry's house, and boy, I tell you what, I'm glad he was cooking because he made some really nice steaks. He put some effort into it. He just didn't sit on the couch and have it happen, but they were really good. So hey, we don't want to be slothful. We don't want to be idle. We don't want to be lazy. A man can't just sit around. Now we think about it, and we're going to think about it too. And we think about again eternal, not just in this world, but our eternal significance in serving the Lord. I got a few more. I got Proverbs 18:9. Proverbs 18:9.
He also had the slothful in his work, his brother to him, that is a great waster.
A great waster. We think about the thought of, what's holding you back? Are you using your time effectively? Are you just wasting your time? We don't be wasting our time we have on this earth in serving the Lord. We don't want to be idle. We want to be found busy. We want to be that. We want to be busy and diligent about the Lord's word. We'll go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 11, 4 and verse 6. Ecclesiastes. Get some thoughts here, what God's word says about laziness, slothfulness, idleness. Ecclesiastes 11, verse 4 and verse 6. All right. I don't know, Barbara, you able to read that?
Ecclesiastes 11, for he that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap. In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thy hand. For thou knowest not whether it shall prosper, either this or that, or whether they both shall be good.
All right, so here we go, we got in verse, we had verse 4 here. What do you think that's leading, what are we talking about here? I was gonna pick on Brother Elmer, I should give it away. He's a builder now, and that could go for builders too, but what it is, he was raised up on a farm, wasn't he? And you think about that, think about if someone just sat outside, which I have to do this on occasions too. We had, the PLC crew had this happen to us the other day. We had some forecast of rain, and it was gonna be wet. So we just, he said, well, we're just gonna go for it, we're gonna go to work anyway. And we worked a little bit in the rain and different things, but you can't just look out the clouds and say, hey, you know what, can't go to work today. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna rain, you know? Because if you do that, you would probably never find a time to do something. You'd always be just sitting there, you idle, you wouldn't be doing anything. And then you think about in, what's the other verse we have here? Verse 6. Verse 6 has about, in the morning sow thy seed, in the evening withhold not thy hand, for thou knowest not whether it shall prosper either this or that, or whether both shall be alike good. So one thing is, if obviously you don't go out and plant, nothing's going to happen, right? So you need to go out and plant, and you need to just go out, because if you don't plant, you won't prosper. And if you're not working and moving forward for the Lord, you won't prosper and be blessed of the Lord. We had, let's look at a couple more here. Proverbs 21:25. Proverbs 21:25. All right, Proverbs 25, or 21:25. Sister Jen, will you come up here, please?
The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor.
All right, so you can want all you want, and you can desire all you want, but what's going to happen if you don't do anything? Nothing. It's just going to lead to ruin. And it has the thought that their hands, what does it say here? It says their hands refuse to labor. I mean, yeah, there's a choice here. You can either work and serve the Lord and desire to serve the Lord and be a servant of the Lord, or you can just serve self and make the choice of just being, lazy, idle. All right? So let's take a moment here again. So a man can't just sit around. And we think about a life of eternal significance. So what is life? What would you define it, life? Simple. It's a simple definition here that I'm looking for, but life is simply what? Time from when you're what?
Alive.
Alive.
Born.
Yeah, we won't say born, that means when you're baby. Yeah, you can see you're alive. But from the time in which you're, from between birth and death, all right? And that's the time here on earth. What are we going to do with it? Are we going to be idle with it? Are we going to be lazy with it? Are we going to use it in a way? What's holding us back from serving the Lord and being, having a purpose in this life with meaning? And then we have here, how about eternal? What is eternal? A life of eternal significance. What is something that's eternal? What is eternal?
Everlasting.
Everlasting. It's something that's timeless. It's uninterrupted. It's never ending. It's endless.
Forever.
All right? Pardon me?
Forever.
Forever. That's right. It's forever. All right? And then how about significance? What is significant? What is something that's significant?
Something that matters.
Something that matters.
Has value.
Yeah, it has value. It has importance, right? Now also, think about significance. It can be looked at as something good and something important, but if it's significant, it can also have consequences, right? Pardon me?
Something you cherish.
Significant is something you definitely cherish. for sure, yes, you definitely cherish it. But also, it's something that's significant, it can also, it can be, consequences too. All right, so we're going to take a look at our text verse, which our text verse is going to be found in Jeremiah 24, 5 through 7. 24, 5 through 7.
Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, like these good figs, so will I acknowledge them that are carried away captive of Judah, whom I have sent out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans, for their good. For I will set mine eyes upon them for good, and I will bring them again to this land, and I will build them and not pull them down. I will plant them and not pluck them up. And I will give them an heart to know me, that I am the Lord. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God, for they shall return unto me with their whole heart.
All right. Now, all right. Again, we have to remember our the author of this book was a counselor, and some of his things that he talks about and the way, the directions he goes, he talks from the outlook of talking to people and the troubles and the things that they have in their life and that he has counseled and talked to. And this thought, anybody hear anybody that didn't care about anything? I don't care. I don't care about anything. I don't care, right? But think about this, and he was talking to a fellow that had come to talk to him and seek counsel in him, and he was talking about that this young man in the prime of his youth come up and said he didn't care about anything. And has a thought, and we think about culture today, and we think about what culture of this world expects and what this world allows, and if people live by the ways of this world, it's really a destruction to them. But somewhere between his teen years, his heart had been drained of life by godless influences. What are some things that can be godless influences in our lives today? Whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're, what are some things that can be that can drain us from God? Culture, yeah, our culture, pop culture. Entertainment. That entertainment can be in many ways. It can be in the ways of music, or it can be in the ways of media, movies. Yeah, movies. It can be in many different ways.
Bad company you keep.
Bad company. Friends is one that's written down here. I was getting ready to mention. You beat me to it. You got my notes there, Matthew. All right, that's good. That's good. So, but yes, there's but somewhere the fellow was drained by godless music, influences that were found in this world, and he had found himself no reason to get out of bed. Right? That's what he said. He didn't care. He had no reason to care, no real reason to embrace life, or he thought. Right? And so as we go on, we'll think about this. We've talked about in the past different things. What happens in this world? If you find yourself in this world and you get caught in this world, we had a long time ago, we had a study about a seared conscience, right? What is a seared conscience? Think about this fellow. He had a seared conscience. He had a seared mind as far as what his life could be like. It was drained, and he found himself not wanting to move on or carry on because he had a seared conscience, and he found himself no reason, no purpose in life. He had no purpose. So anyway, but we think about it, and when you don't have that, when you have a seared conscience or a seared, what is that? What does that do to a person?
Yeah, like a protective layer or yourself, or kind of a shell.
A shell, or sometimes if it's seared, sometimes you kind of lose feeling there too, don't you? I mean, you burn yourself kind of bad, or you have a seared kind, you kind of lose feeling. And you think about it, what happens when you lose feeling? Nothing matters really anymore, right? Pardon me? Did you say that? No. All right. So let's think about this. We were going to do this a couple weeks ago, talk about it, but Seth had gone to the dentist. Anybody and we've all been to the dentist, right? Dan's been to the dentist. I was at the dentist. I had some dental work done. And you go in there and they what do? They numb you up, right? Now, what are some problems with being numb? if you don't take heed to what the dentist has to say when you walk out of that dentist room or the dental office. Megan,
Bite your teeth all up.
say what?
Bite your teeth all up.
Oh, yeah, you could bite your cheeks up, couldn't you? Anyway, so the author has an illustration here, and like I say, it's really something that we can all kind of identify with. But think about the last time you were at the dentist and you couldn't feel anything, and the author here uses his own illustration, what he did in his own life too, because he had some fillings on one side of his mouth, and his face was completely numb. But you know what? He was hungry. So, we probably know where this story's going, right? But he was hungry. And we have the thought here. This is we're thinking about our society and numbness to godliness and being caught in this world. And the bottom line here is to remember and realize what the outcome is going to be, the destruction and the pain that it can cause. So we're thinking about this guy, our author of this story, this book here, our study, and he went to the dentist and he disregarded what the dentist told him about eating soft foods, and his wife said, hey, you should just have a smoothie, or you should have a slushy, or who knows what, some chicken noodle soup, broth, whatever. But he's like, oh no, I'm hungry. My stomach's growling. So what do you suppose he ordered?
Large steak.
Well, he might have ordered a large shake, but he got a steak sandwich to go with it. So, pardon me?
I thought he said large steak.
Oh, did you say a shake or a steak?
Steak.
Oh, I thought you said, I'm sorry, okay, he got a large steak sandwich. I thought you said a shake. I couldn't hear, I'm sorry. But anyway, he was hungry, and Slurpee wasn't going to cut it, fill that appetite that he had. And he didn't really, he didn't care. Oh my, he didn't care, right? He didn't care. He was numb, right? So anyway, his face was numb, or it didn't matter if his face was numb or not. He went against the directions or the counsel of his dentist and his wife, and against his own better judgment. Has anybody here ever done that, gone against our better judgment? Even maybe our conscience bothering us about something, and we just kind of get numb to it, and we just kind of disregard what we probably, our gut tells us. That's American. That's what, I found out a lot of times if I go against my gut, which is, I don't know how you want to describe that, but you get this feeling that you shouldn't be doing something. You get that feeling you should be doing something. Every time I've kind of gone against that, I've got myself in trouble of some kind, right? So we need to trust ourselves, and we need to take good judgment. But he ordered a steak sandwich anyway with all the trimmings, and it was good until he went to kind of wipe his face, and he realized that he was bleeding. He was chewing on the inside of his mouth, he was chewing on his cheeks, and chewing on his lower lip, right? And, he says, what an idiot. I was sitting there, I was eating a sandwich, and in the middle of it, I had this great sandwich to eat. It was delicious, and it was mixed with onions and lip and all kinds of things. Anyway, so the damage was done. I mean, that's the thing, that's the point. You have a quick survey of the damage, and it was already done. He had chewed up his bottom lip, and his wife didn't feel sorry for him either. You know what I mean? She was like, I told you so. But we got to be careful. Matthew's talking about being gracious. And even though sometimes people do things wrong, we need to be gracious. But she had tried to warn him. So he did have a shake or a fruit smoothie, but he also had this chewed up lip. And he said the sandwich was going to go to waste before his eyes, because he sat there and he realized that he was in trouble. So after a few hours, the medication wore off. That numbness had wore off, right? And then at this point, you can guess what? The pain came with a vengeance, right? When you think about that, think about if we go numb to serving God, if we go numb and don't care, and we get caught up in the things of this world, Satan wants us to be numb. Satan wants us to be, idle. He wants us to be in his way. It gives him room to get in, to wiggle in. But he said through the thought that the pain was coming back with a vengeance. And it gripped his lip like never before, and it stayed for a solid week. When we think about when we get out of the way of the Lord, we can have pain. It might be short term, it might be long term, it might last, and we might have scars for the rest of our lives. But a few hours of numbness and a few bites of his steak and his lip cost him many days of pain and much regret. And we think about our life, when we go through our life, are we going to regret the time that we wasted If we're being idle, are we gonna regret the time that we wasted, that weren't productive for the Lord? And we think about it. If we're not idle, and if we're striving our life quest as God will have it for us, there's many blessings in it, right? There can be many blessings in the life. Now, that doesn't mean, as we talked about, that there's not going to be heartache. That doesn't mean there's not going to be trials, and there's going to be pain. There will be pain, but it'll be for a purpose, for God's purpose, for us to grow in the life He wants to have. But so, and we can see that in today's world, Satan is aggressively numbing the hearts of young adults and young people, and even adults, leading them to a general path of apathy or feeling sorry for themselves. Oh, poor me, right? And while they're numb, the damage is done and the pain is not far off. And sometimes people are convicted like this fella. He didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't care. It's not worth it. It's not worth the effort. Not caring about it. But as we go through this study, we're going to challenge ourselves to wake up and to get out of the numbness and be careful so we don't bite ourselves, right? And but to get out of the numbness and to not live in regret that we'll have if we stay in it. But God puts that numbness away. Let's take a look at what is Romans 13:11. Now, we talked about being idle. We talked about being numb. We talked about just sitting around. A man can't just sit around. What does the guy here? What does God's Word say? We've seen what God's Word said about being idle. We've seen what God's Word said about being lazy or slothful. But let's see, what does it say? What does God say in Romans 13:11? What is the time for? Or where are we at? Who read last? Jerry, I don't know. Oh, okay, Jerry's up.
And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe.
We need to wake out of our sleep. We need to wake up. When you wake up in the morning, what do? Well, what do we do when we wake up?
Think about what you have to do that day.
Think about what you got to do. You get up, and then you get at it, don't you? You know what I mean? Think of your list, like Pastor, I got to say it right now, Pastor Blunt, but Pastor Graver. Plan your work your plan, right? But we need to get up, get busy, get doing. Can't just sit around, right? How about 1 Corinthians 15:34? Let's go to, let's look at 1 Corinthians 15:34.
Awake to righteousness and sin not. For some have not the knowledge of God. I speak this to your shame.
All right, we see here again, awake. We need to be awake, and if you're awake, you won't be numb, right? And if you're awake, you're not numb. If you're awake, you're privy to what's going on, right? You're aware of what's going on. Let me see here. Let's look at another one. Ephesians 5:14. Let's see here. John or Casey, please.
Wherefore he saith, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light.
All right, so we got some thoughts here. We see again, awake, awake, out of sleep, and life's worth caring about, right? Life matters. How we live, what we do, where we go, it matters. And why does it matter? Because, well, after we leave here, what is eternity, right? What we do now, it matters for eternity. The pain of not caring is going to it'll eventually catch up with you, right? And we think about after the Novocaine wore off his mouth, and he realized that he bit his lip. The pain was there. It wasn't just for a moment, but we ought to care. We ought to care about our lives. We ought to care about life. Life matters. We ought to care about what God's plan is for us in our lives. Let me see here. Now, after all, do we get to rewind life and live it again? Life, what's hindsight's 20/20? That's like an American problem, right? you could see what you've done in the past that was foolish or wrong, go back and rewind and do it. You could, but we don't get a chance to do it over. We only get one chance to do it right and to live it right according to God's will. And the choices that we make today matter forever. All right, now let me see here. So now we're getting close to a place to stop, but we're going to kind of think about a few things here, and then we'll pick up on the next week. What is it, you know, think about, what do people like? What do you like? What do I like? I mean, do people like attention? Not always. Some people are kind of quiet, but people do like, they like people, I guess you'd say people like to be, for the most part, recognized, or, think about in this world today, what do people do to get attention? We'll think of the group of people that do. What about the group of people that like to get attention? What will they do? Is there anything they'll stop at to get attention?
Sometimes they do bad things too.
Pardon me?
Sometimes they do bad things.
Yeah, sometimes they'll do bad things too. Yeah, you're right. But the fact is that people like attention, you know. People do a lot of different things to get attention. One of the examples, the illustration this fellow used, this fellow spent lots of money. It was a practical joke. He spent lots of money to get a Boeing 747 jet airliner, and he painted one side that looked like the presidential plane. And he took pictures of it being something going on with it or whatever, and he put it on like Facebook, YouTube, or whatever. And even the CIA had to figure out if it was real or if it was if it was a fake. But it got a lot of attention from people. But it has you thought that even what do you say here? Oh gosh, I lost my spot. I hate when I do that. But anyway, the Air Force One literally had to get checked out, and because they didn't know, they had to go check on the real planes to make sure that it wasn't, and it would turn out it was a hoax. But it would cost them a lot of money. Imagine when you get caught, you get a plane painted like the president's plane, right? But the thing is that we want to be careful what we do to get attention, and we want to be able to have the attention doing things that are profitable to giving God a good name, to being a good witness and a good testimony. So we'll kind of stop here, and next week we're going to pick up with the thought that you matter to God. I mean, that's kind of where we're going to pick up. The fact is that we matter to God.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I was talking about like idleness, and with me not working, I'm in a transition, you know, it's way different. I always knew what I was going to do every single day, and
Yeah.
it worked. And it can be hard, and it can be easy in a transition time to
Yep.
become idle.
Right.
And so it can be easy to get down,
Yes.
and not really always knowing what do I do.
Right.
And I just find doing what I know I'm supposed to do, like do the dishes, you know, do the laundry, read my Bible, just those things that I know, it gets me moving.
Get you moving.
So I don't know if anyone else, you know, I imagine other people can be like that too. Well, what do I do?
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
I've had people recently talk to me about that, like, I've homeschooled for all of my life, having kids, and now I don't need to. What is my purpose? You know what I mean? Like, kind of like finding that, now what? Now, kind of like that, what do I do every day? You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
yeah, I like that, just to keep doing what you know to do, and,
Well, it's
he'll fill it in.
Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
fill it
keep
in.
moving.
yeah.
Looking to him for
Started
his,
with what we know.
looking to him for his purpose.
Yeah.
You know, looking to him. And you think about it, I mean, admittedly so, I mean, when I take a vacation, especially if it's like a week vacation, you know, or the human body just loves to not do anything, right? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, can I say when I take a week vacation, I took a week vacation this summer or whatever, and man, I don't know if I didn't want to come back. I kind of liked it, right, Barb? We sat in the swing by the water, you know, while listening to the water roll up on the shore. I was like, I like this, man, you know, but But man, then that numbness sets in, and then you kind of get idle, and you get distracted, and then you lose your purpose, so. It's nice to relax.
Even when you go on vacation, though, it's always good to come back home.
Yeah, there's a point where, and then sometimes it's baby steps, kind of like you were talking, you gotta take baby steps, get busy, find your purpose, be looking to the Lord, and what is your purpose? And it could be something small, but if it's God's purpose, it's important. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing, there's nothing that's not important if you're striving to do it for the Lord. So that's what we'll pick up with next week. We're going to pick up with the thought of eternal significance and mattering. We matter to God. God's people matter to Him. All right, so we'll close there in prayer.